Okay, so it is now time for basketball as I'm getting comfortable in my seat here.
Yay.
So there's a whole bunch of things going on. I guess right now the Clippers had lost the first two games against the Suns as they've lost the previous two series, but somehow they've come back and won. So now the Clippers are down 3-1. Chris Paul has returned for the Suns. Clippers still do not have Kawhi Leonard. So the Suns are up 3-1, and Chris Paul is having none of that. He's had too many series where he's been up 3-1 and lost. So he's ready to put this down and win tonight as we're recording Monday the 28th. This will probably be different.
And meanwhile, on the
Meanwhile, we have was it Atlanta versus the
Milwaukee.
Bucks.
Yep.
Milwaukee's up 2-1 on that one. Having a surprise win against the Nets. The Nets crushed them in the first two games, and in the third game, it was a real defensive game, and I think they were like both in the 80 points, and the Bucks squeezed that one out, and then they squeezed the game 4 out, and then the Nets won game 5, Bucks won game 6, and then game 7 was the game that I had the other week, and which you couldn't go to because you're too fancy with your fancy job.
My fancy job and my fancy baseball.
So we were basically finishing game night, and all of a sudden I put on the game because Owen said he would eat his shoe if the Nets didn't win.
Oh, gosh.
After that second game. So we're watching it, and I was like, they're winning, they're losing, they're winning, they're losing, we're going, they're up, and then all of a sudden seconds are waning down, and Kevin Durant hits this three-pointer, and I'm like, I lost it. I was like, dude, so clutch. And then I see him, like, they only put up 2 points, and then his big toe of his giant feet was just on the line. And that only counted as 2 to tie the game and not take the lead. And then they get the ball, and then they head into overtime, and Durant had nothing left in him. There was absolutely nothing left in his tank. He couldn't hit any of these shots. James Harden was still injured, and when he came back for Game 6, he basically did nothing. Game 7, he was a bit better. Or actually, did he come back Game 5? He came back Game 5, didn't do anything. Game 6,
Either way, he was a shell
he
of
did
himself.
better. Yeah, and then Game 7, he did, I guess, okay, but like he missed a wide open 3. No one was even like within 10 feet of him.
He was not James Harden.
Yeah, no, it was not there. So this might be the year Giannis makes it to the finals here and maybe gets a win.
You know what's the interesting I read about this? All 4 teams in the NBA semifinals have never won an NBA championship in the current NBA format.
Really?
Yeah. That I believe it was the Hawks. One of them won an American the ABA championship before the merger, but no one's won an NBA finals.
That's crazy.
So there's going to be a brand new NBA champion this year for the first time.
So what also is new, though, is the Celtics, after the Nets had lost, who they've already Danny Ainge, their general manager, president, whatever, stepped down. And surprisingly, Brad Stevens, who I thought was going to be fired for having 2 really bad years, even though I think he's probably one of the best coaches in the league. But he just had to sort of fight a bunch of injuries and not a very good point guard situation. Surprisingly, took over Danny Ainge's spot, and the Celtics were like, oh, well, we got to find a new coach. And they've settled on Ime Udoka, who wasn't a great basketball player, did okay. He only really had 1 season where he started. He played a couple of years with the Spurs under Greg Popovich, and then later transitioned into a coaching role where he helped win the 2014 NBA championship with Greg Popovich. He also was there on Team USA in 2019, so he has familiarity with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, although there's rumors they might trade Marcus Smart, who's the longest tenured Celtic player and the heart and soul of the team, very good defensive player. There's been rumors trading Jaylen Brown for maybe someone like Damian Lillard, but I don't know why you trade like a 25-year-old for a 30-year-old.
Maybe you want the veteran presence?
I guess, but like Lillard's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I know you don't know that specifically.
I'll take your word for it.
But like, he's a good player. But I wouldn't put him in the top 20. There's a lot of like really, really good players right there. But he's definitely as nice as it would be. But you're losing a really core young player. Obviously, Jason Tatum's your future. You gave him that big contract and extension. Brown's, I don't think, has gotten that yet. Marcus Smart, I think, had gotten something, but it's not going to keep up. But what's interesting is Udoka was just with the Nets. So he knows what a winning locker room is like. He's seen what's happened with the Celtics these last couple of years, and he's coached underneath Greg Popovich, played underneath Greg Popovich, won a championship with Greg Popovich. Like this guy knows what it takes to win a game. Greg Popovich is probably one of the best coaches I've ever seen in basketball.
Even I've heard of his pedigree. You don't need to tell me he's not good.
If he knows how to surround himself with good people. I think he even has a female assistant coach or something like that. So look out for her maybe having a job in the next couple of years. So if Popovich gives him the official tag, I'm going to accept this. The locker room, Celtics players seem to really like this. Tatum and Brown have been vocal about liking this. So I'm intrigued. I'm hoping this leads to something. And hopefully Brad Stevens is a little bit risky because Danny Ainge seemed to be a little more conservative, I guess, over these last several years and not really make the big. I mean, I guess Kyrie Irving was a big splash.
Yeah.
But he was just cutting point guards like left and right every other year.
Yeah. Now here's a question from me as an uninformed baseball. Is this the first time a coach under? This isn't the first time a coach under Popovich has gone on to another coaching position, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Because I was going to wonder, is coaching proteges like Mike Scioscia, in which he had guys like Dave Martinez, and then what's his face, the Rays, Cubs, Angels manager that I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. No. But anyway, guys who got really successful coaching careers after coaching under Scioscia, or is it like Bill Belichick, who's a great coach, but for some reason everyone who served under him has turned out to be a terrible head coach.
Well, the interesting thing is if Belichick ever retires, how Josh McDaniels will be, because it's been rumored that he's been supposedly wanted as a head coach for the longest time, but he actually I forget which team he turned down after he initially said yes to, and then he said no, and then he stayed. So. We'll have to see on that.
Yeah. Also, the guy I was thinking of, Joe Madden. How could I forget Joe Madden?
Yeah, Joe Madden. It's. I think it's going to be good for the Celtics. Hopefully, it'll be fun.
Can't get much worse.
It'd be nice to see Giannis win a championship, being such a great player. The Hawks, it'd be kind of interesting to see them win after
the rest of Atlanta screws over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Atlanta Hawks have been not very good these last several years after having some of the best records in I think the early 2010s. Then they just sort of fell flat.
Well, I was also going to say more. Have you seen Atlanta sports?
Yeah, no.
Have you seen what the Falcons and the Braves have done recently?
Yeah, so that'd be nice for them. The Suns, it'd be really good to see Chris Paul win because he's been one of the top players these last 15 years.
Yeah, the Suns have been
He just hasn't been able to win. He's bounced around a couple teams because the teams just haven't been able to win and build around with them. So hopefully they're able to win.
And the Suns were one of the best teams.
And then the Clippers, I like Kawhi. I think he's a hell of a player. He's won MVP for 2 different teams. He knows how to win. So I'm kind of fine with any of these 4 teams.
Most importantly, the Clippers can then shove it in the faces of the Lakers for once.
Yeah, but
we'll
anyway,
see.
That's for another time.